Nevade till I feel I 5 essential steps after losing your life partner. When half of your heart goes silent, have you ever awakened in the middle of the night, instinctively reaching across the bed, only to feel the cold emptiness where your beloved once slept? The sudden realization that they're truly gone strikes with renewed force each time. That vacant pillow, the unoccupied chair at the dining table, the missing voice that once filled your home with warmth, these absences carve hollow spaces not just in your surroundings, but deep within your soul. The pain of losing a life partner is unlike any other grief. It doesn't announce itself with dramatic sobs or theatrical displays. Instead, it infiltrates the smallest moments of your day, when you cook a meal and automatically set 2 plates, when you hear something amusing and turn to share it with someone who is no longer there, when evening falls, and the silence becomes so profound it feels like a physical presence. I understand this profound emptiness, the relationship you built over decades, sharing dreams, weathering storms, celebrating triumphs, and creating countless memories together suddenly transforms into a one-person journey. The partner who knew your unspoken thoughts, who completed your sentences, who anchored you through life's uncertainties, has departed, leaving you to navigate unfamiliar waters alone. Yet within this devastating loss lies a truth we must acknowledge. Though your beloved has departed, your own story continues. The remaining chapters need not be defined solely by absence and longing. Essential step una embracing the reality of grief. The first and perhaps most crucial step is giving yourself permission to fully experience your grief. Society often pressures the bereaved to move on or stay strong, but authentic healing begins with acknowledging the depth of your loss without judgment or timeline. I once visited my distant cousin, Mrs. Catherine, who had lost her husband of 47 years just 14 months earlier. Entering her modest home, I noticed everything remained precisely as it had been when Mr. Thomas was alive, his reading glasses still on the side table, his favorite chair untouched, his slippers positioned by the door as if he might return any moment to slip them on. When I gently asked about these preserved artifacts, she replied with misty eyes, "I keep them this way because it feels like he's just stepped out for a moment." This is a natural response to profound loss. We instinctively resist change because it feels like betrayal, as if accepting the new reality means forgetting the person we've lost. But grief specialists now understand that healthy mourning isn't about forgetting, it's about finding ways to maintain meaningful connections while still embracing life's continuation. Grief isn't linear. Some days will feel manageable, while others might bring you to your knees with unexpected waves of emotion. You might find yourself laughing at a memory, then suddenly overwhelmed by tears moments later. This emotional pendulum is normal, particularly in the first years after loss. Consider creating physical spaces for your grief expression, perhaps through journaling your thoughts to your departed spouse, speaking aloud to their photograph, or participating in grief support groups where others share similar experiences. Dr. William Newcomb, a renowned grief counselor, notes that grief expressed is grief processed, highlighting how acknowledging your emotions facilitates healing rather than prolonging suffering. Remember that your loved one would never want grief to consume your remaining years. They would want their memory to bring comfort rather than endless pain. Accepting loss doesn't diminish your love, it honors it by allowing that love to transform into something that sustains rather than depletes you. Isa step tiwo, securing financial independence and stability following the emotional shock of losing your partner, comes the pragmatic reality of managing finances independently, often for the first time in decades. Financial insecurity adds unnecessary stress to an already difficult period. Yet with thoughtful planning, you can establish stability that provides peace of mind during this transition. For many elderly individuals, financial matters were often handled by one spouse, leaving the surviving partner uncertain about income sources, account access, and ongoing expenses. This knowledge gap can transform typical money matters into overwhelming obstacles. Mrs. Eleanor, whom we'll meet more fully later, initially faced this challenge after losing her husband. "For 40 years, Walter handled our finances," she explained. "I barely knew which bills were due when, let alone how to access our savings accounts." Begin by creating a comprehensive financial inventory. Gather documentation of all income sources, pensions, social security benefits, investments, rental income, or other revenue streams. Similarly, list all regular expenses, from utilities and insurance to groceries and healthcare costs. This baseline assessment reveals your current financial position and helps identify potential challenges. Next, reevaluate your spending patterns. The lifestyle that served 2 people may require adjustment for 1. This doesn't mean embracing austerity, but rather relocating resources toward priorities that support your well-being: quality healthcare, comfortable housing, nutritious food, and meaningful activities. Eliminating unnecessary expenses creates financial breathing room. Consider consulting a financial advisor specializing in retirement planning, particularly one experienced with widowed clients. These professionals can help restructure investments, ensure you're receiving all entitled benefits, and create sustainable withdrawal strategies to prevent outliving your resources. Many community centers and senior organizations offer free financial counseling specifically for widowed individuals. Be particularly vigilant regarding financial exploitation, which disproportionately targets elderly individuals living alone. Establish relationships with trusted advisors, whether financial professionals or family members, who can provide second opinions on significant financial decisions. Be wary of unsolicited investment opportunities, pressure tactics, or requests for personal financial information. Remember, financial independence isn't about accumulating wealth, it's about creating security that allows you to live with dignity and autonomy. As Mrs. Eleanor later discovered, managing my own finances wasn't just about paying bills, it was about reclaiming control over my life when so much else felt beyond my control. Step 2. Prioritizing physical and mental well-being. The grief following a spouse's death often manifests physically as well as emotionally. Many widowed individuals experience disrupted sleep patterns, diminished appetite, reduced energy, and even compromised immune function. Without conscious attention to health maintenance, these temporary symptoms can evolve into chronic conditions that significantly impact quality of life. Dr. Samantha Reynolds, geriatric specialist at Northwestern Medical Institute, explains, the stress hormone cortisol floods the system during prolonged grief, potentially accelerating age-related health decline. Proactive health measures aren't just beneficial after loss, they're essential. Physical health maintenance begins with basic but fundamental practices. Establish consistent meal times, even when eating alone feels pointless. Nutritionist Dr. Karen Mitchell suggests, create simple, nutritious meals that provide pleasure rather than viewing eating as mere sustenance. Consider batch cooking to freeze portions, or arrange regular meal sharing with friends to maintain social connections, while ensuring proper nutrition. Sleep disturbances frequently accompany grief, as the absence of a long-time sleeping partner disrupts decades-established patterns. Create new bedtime rituals, perhaps gentle stretching, relaxing music, or calming herbal tea to signal to your body that rest time approaches. Keep consistent sleep and wake times to stabilize your circadian rhythm. Regular physical movement, tailored to your abilities, provides multiple benefits. Even gentle activities like walking, gardening, or seated exercises improve cardiovascular health, strengthen muscles that prevent falls, release mood-enhancing endorphins, and often provide opportunities for social interaction. Mrs. Eleanor found that joining a morning Tai Chi group not only improved her balance, but introduced her to a supportive community of peers. Mental health deserves equal attention. Prolonged isolation significantly increases depression risk among the elderly, particularly following spousal loss. Establish regular communication schedules with family and friends, whether through in-person visits, phone calls, or video chats. These connections provide emotional support while maintaining your place in a social network. Consider professional mental health support if grief remains overwhelming months after your loss. Grief-specialized therapists can provide valuable coping strategies and validation for your experience. Many senior centers offer free or reduced-cost counseling services specifically for bereavement support. Remember that caring for yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary. As flight attendants instruct, secure your own oxygen mask before helping others. By maintaining your health, you honor your departed spouse's wish for your continued well-being while ensuring you remain capable of engaging meaningfully with life's remaining opportunities. Step 4. Cultivating new social connections. The loss of a life partner often represents not just the absence of a beloved individual, but the dissolution of an entire social structure. Couples frequently develop shared friendships, routines, and activities that suddenly feel inaccessible or uncomfortable when navigating them alone. This social contraction, combined with natural age-related friendship losses, can lead to profound isolation precisely when connection is most needed. Sociologist Dr. Jennifer Mikowski explains, humans are fundamentally social creatures requiring meaningful connection throughout the lifespan. For the elderly bereaved, creating new relationships isn't optional, it's vital for cognitive health, emotional resilience, and even longevity. Beginning new social connections might feel daunting after decades of couplehood. Start with low-pressure environments where shared activities naturally facilitate interaction. Community centers typically offer numerous groups oriented around specific interests, from book discussions and gardening clubs to craft workshops and historical societies. These activity-focused gatherings reduce social awkwardness since conversation naturally revolves around the shared experience. Faith communities often provide particularly supportive environments for the bereaved. Many religious organizations offer widower support groups, volunteer opportunities, and regular gatherings specifically designed for older members. These communities frequently combine practical support with spiritual comfort during difficult transitions. Technology, while sometimes intimidating for older adults, can dramatically expand social possibilities. Mrs. Eleanor initially resisted her son's suggestion to learn video calling, believing it unnecessarily complicated. However, after experiencing the joy of seeing her distant grandchildren's faces during conversations, she discovered additional online communities specifically for widowed seniors sharing similar experiences. Volunteering deserves special consideration for its dual benefits of social connection and purposeful engagement. Contributing your time and wisdom to causes you value, whether mentoring young people, supporting hospital patients, assisting at animal shelters, or participating in community improvement projects, creates meaningful relationships while reinforcing your continued value to society. When cultivating new connections, remember that quality supersedes quantity. A few authentic relationships provide greater emotional sustenance than numerous superficial acquaintances. Seek individuals who listen empathetically, share your values, and demonstrate reliability traits that form the foundation of meaningful friendship at any age. Most importantly, recognize that forming new connections doesn't dishonor your marriage or replace your spouse. Instead, these relationships acknowledge that your capacity for giving and receiving care extends beyond a single relationship. Your heart doesn't have finite space for love, it expands to embrace new connections while treasuring established bonds. Finding purpose through new routines and interests. When a marriage dissolves through death, not only does a beloved person disappear, but the intricate ecosystem of daily habits, responsibilities, and routines disappears as well. The sudden absence of these familiar patterns can create a disorienting void where hours stretch endlessly without structure or purpose. Dr. Marcus Chun, a psychologist specializing in late life transitions, explains, humans fundamentally need purpose, a reason to rise each morning. For many, marriage provided that framework through mutual care, shared responsibilities, and collaborative decision-making. Creating new sources of meaning isn't merely about filling time, it's about reconstructing a sense of identity and purpose. In a radically altered landscape, consider developing a deliberate daily structure that balances necessary tasks with enjoyable activities. This framework provides stability during emotional turbulence while ensuring essential self-care continues. Perhaps mornings feature gentle exercise and correspondence. Afternoons include community engagement or creative pursuits, and evenings embrace relaxation through reading or music appreciation. Exploring previously abandoned interests or discovering entirely new passions can provide profound fulfillment. Mrs. Eleanor had always enjoyed gardening but never pursued it seriously while managing household responsibilities. Following her husband's passing, she gradually transformed her small yard into a vibrant sanctuary, eventually joining a community garden club where her knowledge and plants were equally valued. Journaling offers unique benefits following spousal loss. Writing provides emotional catharsis while creating a meaningful record of your continuing journey. Many bereaved individuals find that documenting memories of their departed spouse preserves precious recollections while simultaneously acknowledging their ongoing life narrative. This dual focus, honoring the past while engaging with the present, facilitates healthy grief integration. Learning new skills challenges negative assumptions about age-related limitations while stimulating cognitive function. Whether studying a language, mastering technology, exploring artistic techniques, or developing culinary expertise, acquiring new abilities reinforces your capacity for growth despite loss. Educational opportunities specifically designed for seniors frequently exist through community colleges, libraries, and online platforms, many offering reduced or waived fees for older students. Travel, even modest excursions, can significantly expand perspective following loss. Experiencing new environments provides sensory stimulation, creates novel memories, and often facilitates unexpected connections. Mrs. Eleanor initially joined a senior group's day trip primarily to escape her empty home, but discovered that exploring unfamiliar settings rekindled her curiosity and engagement with the wider world. Remember that finding new purpose doesn't require extraordinary achievements or dramatic lifestyle changes. Meaning emerges through consistent engagement with activities that align with your values, utilize your strengths, connect you with others, and provide genuine satisfaction. These purposeful engagements gradually transform empty hours into meaningful experiences that affirm life's continuing value. A story of renewal after loss. In a quiet village nestled among rolling hills lived Mrs. Eleanor Thompson, a gentle woman of 68. For more than 4 decades, she had shared her life with Walter, a kind-hearted man whose laughter had filled their modest home with warmth. Their lives followed a comfortable rhythm, morning tea together on the porch, tending their small vegetable garden, evening television programs followed by quiet conversations about their day. They weren't wealthy, but in each other's company, they found contentment. Then came the unthinkable afternoon when Walter, while sweeping the yard, suddenly clutched his chest and collapsed. Despite the frantic efforts of neighbors and paramedics, by the time they reached the hospital, the doctor could only shake his head solemnly. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Thompson. Your husband suffered a massive stroke. We couldn't save him." The words seemed to come from a great distance as Eleanor stood frozen, unable to comprehend how her husband of 42 years could vanish so suddenly. That morning, they had shared breakfast and discussed plans for the following week. Now, she was expected to accept that he would never return home. The days following Walter's funeral passed in a gray haze. Eleanor moved through her home like a ghost, unable to sleep in their bed, unable to enjoy meals at their table. Everything from his reading glasses, still resting on the side table, to his gardening boots by the door, seemed to wait expectantly for his return. Each morning brought the crushing realization that he was truly gone. What's the point of getting up? She often asked herself, pulling the blankets tighter around her shoulders. What's the point of cooking just for myself? Of tending the garden? Of anything at all? Her children visited when they could, but with their own families and responsibilities, these visits were inevitably brief. The silence between these moments grew increasingly oppressive. For months, Eleanor existed rather than lived. Her appetite diminished, her sleep became fragmented, and she gradually withdrew from church activities and neighborhood gatherings that had once brought her joy. The vibrant woman Walter had loved was disappearing into a shell of quiet grief, her world shrinking to the boundaries of her home, where memories both comforted and tortured her. Then came an unexpected catalyst for change. Her 10-year-old granddaughter Sophie visited one spring afternoon and, with the directness only children possess, asked, "Grandma, can you tell me stories about Grandpa when he was young? Dad says he was really funny, but I don't remember much." The innocent request pierced Eleanor's protective numbness. For the first time in months, she found herself smiling as she described Walter's youthful misadventures, how he once accidentally painted their living room 3 different shades because he kept mixing colors incorrectly, or how he attempted to bake her a birthday cake that somehow ended up completely hollow inside. That evening after Sophie left, Eleanor found herself reaching for an old notebook. She began writing not just about Walter, but about her feelings, her loneliness, her fear of moving forward. The words flowed more easily than she expected, and something unexpected happened. With each memory committed to paper, the weight on her heart lightened slightly. She wasn't forgetting Walter. She was preserving him in a way that allowed her to carry him differently. This simple act of remembrance became a daily ritual. Each evening, Eleanor would write about their shared past, but increasingly, she also wrote about her present, small observations about the changing seasons, interactions with neighbors, even her struggles with grief itself. The journal became both companion and witness to her gradual awakening. One morning, while writing about Walter's love for their garden, Eleanor glanced out the window at the neglected flower beds they had once tended together. Something stirred within her, a quiet voice that sounded remarkably like Walter's. "Those roses need pruning, Ellie. You always had a better touch with them than I did." With trembling hands, she found her gardening gloves, stepping outside for the first time in months with purpose rather than obligation. The spring sunshine felt unexpectedly good on her skin as she carefully trimmed back dead branches, cleared encroaching weeds, and turned the soil. By afternoon, her muscles ached pleasantly, and the garden bed, while far from perfect, showed signs of renewal. Like her heart, it would need consistent attention to truly flourish again. This small victory encouraged Eleanor to take another step. When her neighbor Mrs. Chen mentioned a senior Tai Chi group that met in the community park, Eleanor surprised herself by agreeing to attend. The first session felt awkward. She was certain everyone was watching, the clumsy widow attempting unfamiliar movements, but the instructor's gentle guidance and the group's welcoming attitude eased her discomfort. "I haven't moved like this in years," she confessed to a silver-haired woman named Dora, who had been widowed herself 3 years earlier. Dora smiled knowingly. "Neither had I, but I found my old bones. Actually prefer moving to rusting in place." This casual exchange blossomed into a friendship built on shared experience. Over post-exercise tea, they discovered common ground beyond their widowhood, a love for historical novels, an appreciation for classical music, and a mutual fondness for lemon cake. These conversations gradually extended to other group members, creating a support network that understood Eleanor's journey without requiring explanation. The Tai Chi sessions became anchor points in Eleanor's week, providing both physical benefits and social connection. Her sleep improved, her strength increased, And most noticeably, periods of genuine laughter returned to her life, brief at first, then increasingly frequent. She wasn't betraying Walter's memory by finding moments of joy. She was honoring the life they had shared by continuing to live hers fully. As months passed, Eleanor slowly reclaimed abandoned aspects of herself while discovering entirely new dimensions. When her son suggested she learn to use a smartphone, her initial resistance gave way to curiosity. Video calls with distant grandchildren evolved into exploring online communities specifically for widowed seniors, where she both received and offered support to others walking similar paths. Walter would be completely baffled by this technology. She chuckled to her online friend group as she finally mastered the art of sharing photographs. He could fix anything mechanical, but computers made him break out in a cold sweat. Financial matters presented another frontier for growth. Walter had managed their accounts throughout their marriage, leaving Eleanor initially uncertain about everything from bill payments to investment decisions. With her daughter's encouragement, she enrolled in a free financial literacy workshop at the senior center, gradually gaining confidence in managing her resources independently. "I never thought I'd understand any of this," she confessed to the facilitator after successfully creating her first budget spreadsheet. "But it actually feels empowering to know exactly where I stand." Perhaps most significantly, Eleanor began cooking again, not merely to sustain herself, but to experience pleasure. She started with Walter's favorite recipes, finding that preparing them now brought comfort rather than pain. Eventually she experimented with new dishes, inviting neighbors or church friends to share occasional meals. Her dining table, once a symbol of loneliness, gradually transformed into a gathering place for meaningful conversation. A year and a half after Walter's passing, Eleanor joined a senior travel group for a weekend trip to a coastal town 3 hours away. The first evening, standing alone on the beach watching the sunset paint the horizon in spectacular colors, she felt Walter's presence not as a painful absence, but as a loving witness to her continued journey. "You would have loved this view, dear," she whispered, tears mingling with her smile. "I wish you were here to see it, but I'm so glad I didn't miss seeing it at all." Eleanor hadn't forgotten Walter. His photograph still held the place of honor in her living room, and she still spoke to him in quiet moments. But she had discovered an essential truth. Her life story contained chapters beyond their marriage. These new chapters would never replace what she had lost, but they could still be filled with meaning, connection, and even joy. Her journey wasn't complete. Grief still visited in unexpected moments. Birthdays, anniversaries, and holidays brought renewed waves of longing. But between these waves stretched increasingly longer periods of genuine engagement with life, evidence not of forgetting, but of healing. "I'll always miss him," Eleanor told her Tai Chi friend Dora as they walked through the autumn park nearly 2 years after Walter's passing. "But I've realized something important. The greatest honor I can give our love is to live fully with what remains of my life. That's what he would have wanted for me." Prepare and Jafar Pia, creating a meaningful later life. Dear friends, while we cannot predict life's challenges, we can prepare ourselves to face them with greater resilience. Whether you're currently navigating the absence of a beloved spouse or wisely preparing for potential future changes, consider these foundational approaches to creating a meaningful later life. First, cultivate financial autonomy regardless of your current marital status. Understanding your complete financial picture, income sources, investment strategies, insurance coverage, and expense patterns provides essential security during life transitions. Many adults, particularly those who delegated financial management to spouses throughout marriage, find themselves vulnerable when suddenly responsible for complex decisions. Consider working with a certified financial planner experienced with seniors' needs, and maintain organized records accessible to trusted family members. Second, invest continuously in diverse relationships rather than relying exclusively on your spouse for social engagement. Research consistently demonstrates that maintaining multiple meaningful connections throughout adulthood significantly improves health outcomes following major life disruptions. Friendships with individuals who share your interests, faith community involvement, consistent family connections, and neighborhood relationships all create a supportive network that remains intact even when individual relationships change. Third, develop personal interests independent of your spouse's involvement. While shared activities strengthen marriages, cultivating individual passions ensures you maintain core aspects of identity regardless of relationship status. These independent interests often provide crucial continuity and purpose during life's transitions. Mrs. Eleanor's rediscovered passion for gardening, for example, provided both emotional outlet and social connections during her grief journey. Fourth, prioritize preventative health practices that support physical and cognitive resilience. Regular movement appropriate to your abilities, nutrient-rich dietary patterns, consistent sleep routines, and stress management techniques create physical resources that help weather emotional challenges. Consider working with healthcare providers to develop personalized wellness strategies addressing your specific health profile and family history. Finally, cultivate spiritual or philosophical frameworks that provide perspective beyond immediate circumstances. Whether through religious faith meditation practices, nature connection, or humanistic philosophy, developing a broader context for understanding life's inevitable changes supports resilience when facing loss. These frameworks help answer fundamental questions about meaning and purpose that often emerge during significant transitions. Remember that preparing for potential challenges isn't pessimistic, it's prudent. Just as we wouldn't consider financial planning negative thinking, developing emotional and social resources represents wise investment in your future well-being. The most fulfilling later lives combine realistic preparation with optimistic engagement, creating foundations strong enough to support whatever circumstances emerge. Kailasan, the continuing journey, dear friends. Losing a life partner represents perhaps the most profound transition many will ever experience. The relationship that shaped your daily existence, influenced major decisions, provided constant companionship, and created a shared history suddenly transforms into memory. This transition inevitably brings pain, not because something is wrong with you, but because something was deeply right about the love you shared. Yet within this painful reality lies an essential truth. Grief's presence doesn't signal the end of your story. Rather, it marks a significant chapter transition in a narrative that continues unfolding. The depth of your grief reflects the height of your love, a testament to connection rather than failure. Mrs. Eleanor's journey illustrates that healing doesn't mean forgetting or moving on, in the dismissive sense others sometimes suggest. Instead, healthy grieving involves integrating your loss into a life that gradually expands to include new experiences, relationships, and meanings alongside treasured memories. Your departed beloved becomes not a closed chapter, but a continuing influence woven throughout your ongoing story. The 5 essential steps we've explored: embracing grief authentically, securing financial stability, prioritizing holistic health, cultivating meaningful connections, and developing purposeful routines, provide a framework for navigation rather than a rigid prescription. Each journey through loss follows its unique timeline and expression, worthy of respect rather than judgment. Remember that seeking support demonstrates wisdom rather than weakness. Whether through formal counseling, support groups, faith communities, or trusted friends, allowing others to accompany you through grief's landscape provides both practical assistance and emotional validation. You weren't meant to walk this path alone. Most importantly, recognize that finding moments of joy, purpose, or connection following loss honors rather than betrays your departed beloved. The love you shared expanded your capacity for engagement with life. Allowing that expansion to continue represents the ultimate tribute to your relationship's enduring impact. Your remaining years carry value beyond measure, not as a pale shadow of what came before, but as a meaningful continuation influenced by all you've experienced and all you've loved. The question isn't whether life after profound loss can hold meaning, but rather what meaning you will create from the time, wisdom, and love still available to you. If you're currently walking through grief's terrain, please share your experience in the comments below. Your story might provide exactly the companionship another reader needs in their own journey. If you've discovered particular approaches that supported your healing, consider offering these insights as well. Through such exchanges, we create community even amidst our most solitary experiences. Thank you for joining me in exploring these essential truths about life's continuing journey. Until we meet again in future discussions, may you find moments of peace amid life's inevitable changes, and may you recognize the enduring strength within your own heart.